Hello, everyone.
He is our own personal hype person. It's great.
I got them dancing. I had to switch over because it's Friday, which means it's time for some fun and paint and slay. And we have with us today our special guest, Mark Meer, who is joining us for the second episode, painting the WizKids giant space hamster from the limited edition paint kit that they sent our way. So we're going to have some fun basically painting Boo today and finishing up Boo. Thank you. Lauren has the actual kit itself. If you're interested in that kit, then you can check with your local game store, see if they have it in stock. You can also go and check out dndmini.com, see if it is on order. I think last week it was on back order, and there was a lot happening this morning that I forgot to check to see what its status is now. But this is one of those things where definitely check with your local game store first and see if they have this available, because the game stores, they are the ones who tend to carry these more often than not. But before we get into picking back up with painting this face, well, actually not the face, but painting the rest of it, we have the pack and the base and the fun little chest plate to paint. What do we have going on this week, Lauren? Because I know today itself is busy.
Today's busy and lots of stuff got announced today, but especially with Mark being here again, we should start with, this is the last weekend that you can pick up Brother Uriah in the game. There we go. And there are two special skins that have come out related to the Black Dice Society, Blushing Bride and Blushing Grooms. So you can get both Nahara and Uriah in the game in their wedding outfits, looking happy for the first time in a very long time. Nora was talking yesterday during the interview how she specifically asked for this skin for her to be smiling just a little bit, for a little bit of happy.
And the same applies to Uriah. I did ask. It's just like, yeah, he should probably have a little smile for the first time instead of just looking either terrified or evil when he's possessed by Aslan.
Terrified? Aslan? What?
So there you go. If you'd like either of these excellent champions looking happy, go ahead and pick up those skins. We also, I'm trying to remember what order I'm supposed to do this in. Are we talking the weekend buffs?
Weekend buffs. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The weekend buffs have just gone live. That's the Sword of Kashmar weekend, where those champions will be able to help you with all of your weekend buff needs. Hey, if you need those last couple of chests in order to gear up Brother Uriah, now is the time. And then we had a fun announcement this morning where we announced the next Idol Champions Presents has gone live. There it is, Fury of the Black Rose. We have a bevy of awesome people who are mostly in the Europe.
Yep.
In the UK.
In the UKs.
And that side of the country, which is why you might notice that all these awesome people are playing this game at a slightly different time. 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific, because, it would be cruel of us to ask these awesome people to come to a show for us and then play at like midnight their time. So
yeah. We did the mathing on that one. It's like, okay, I already know it's late for me when I'm sitting in on those calls because I wrap up around 10 my time. And it's like, oh, that's like 3 a.m. So we have a little adjustment. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning for the live episode, but we will be doing a rebroadcast at 4 p.m. on the same channel. So if for some reason you can't catch it live, you can see what happened with the rebroadcast at the same time that we would normally have this happen earlier on had we been working with the mostly US crowd. But I'm very excited because this is a fantastic group of people. Let me tell you, they are super excited for this one. I think we're going to have a lot of fun and curious to see where B-Dave takes them all in the next chapter of Idol Champions Presents. That is for sure.
Absolutely. And the blog is up, so if you'd like to learn a tiny bit more about what this game is going to be all about, you can check out the blog. There's a little teaser that includes who Mark and Gabe are playing, which might be of interest to some people, because I think you can guess who the other three are playing. but you might want to check out what the two of them are playing. So definitely join us for that. We have Sean as our moderator for today. Thank you, Sean, for joining us again. Sean is taking over for a lot of the moderator duties today, so we appreciate you. If you do have any questions for us about Idle Champions, about painting minis, if you have a question for Mark, if you have a question about tea, just go ahead and ask us by putting question in big capital letters into the chat so that we can grab that. And the next time that we're not trying to do some very fine detail on these awesome little minis, we'll get that asked. I think that's all of the announcements.
So. Yeah,
we might have something. We might have something later. Yeah, but we're good for now.
We're good for now. I'm just gonna leave that little bit of a breadcrumb out there for the viewers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had fun making the hamster look like a hamster, but now we're going to focus on the accessories and the backpack and the base today. So first things first, we're going to paint this adorable little chest plate that's helping keep this backpack on the back of the hamster. Keep in mind, this is a giant space hamster, so if you put it up to scale to a medium miniature, this is a large mini, this is a medium mini, so you can see it's not a tiny little hamster in scale when you put it up next to the other minis, but for us, it's definitely a cute little hamster. So what we're going to want to start with is dark flesh tone, and probably want to thin it out just a little bit because, well, at least check your paint pot first. Mine tended to be a little bit thicker when I was looking at it after mixing it a little. So if you thin it out, it's better because that way it'll flow more evenly across the surface of this. But what we're going to do is paint just this chest plate itself, not the straps. That's going to be a different color. So it's just this main plate on the chest tummy area.
And it's just going to be straight dark flesh tone?
Yep.
No,
straight up
no mixing?
dark flesh tones. No mixins. No mixins in this case.
Ooh, and we've already got some questions for Mark in chat.
Yes.
Nice.
One of which I know you were going to be talking about doing this later, or talking about this later, but Sean wants to know, what was your favorite part about filming Gordon? They watched it and it was awesome, which I agree. It is awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Well, first of all, thank you very much. And second of all, for those who don't know, Gordon is a Batman fan film that's currently up on the Creative Force Films YouTube channel. And my favorite part of it was, wow. I mean, if you've seen it, you know about, it's basically one scene, and it's almost like a play. And getting to work with Jonathan B. Williams was fantastic. He plays Gordon, Commissioner James Gordon. And Micah Thomas, who plays Batman, also fantastic to work with. I mean, the whole experience for me was just pure fun because I got to go to one of my favorite cities, Atlanta, and it was around Halloween. So I also, on my day off, got to go to Netherworld Haunted House, which is one of my favorite haunted attractions in your fine country. And the experience of being on set was like walking into a comic book because, you know, we had the Gotham PD and we had SWAT and we had all kinds of things. So it was like getting to LARP a Batman comic essentially.
That's so
cool. That's awesome. And it must be hard to talk about anything more specific than that because it's a short film, so it's like 15, 16 minutes, if I remember correctly.
That's true. That's true. Well, yes. Right after you finish watching us paint a miniature, you should go watch that on YouTube.
There you go.
Once again, look up Gordon, a Batman fan film. So yes, the entire experience was delightful.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Quick question for you, V. When you said this chest plate, is that going to include the belt in the middle and the bits around the yes, it's going to include the bits around the side. I just saw you painting it.
I'm doing the edges. I wasn't being too fussy right here because right here is going to be tricky with that hand. I am going to try and work around the rest of the belt though.
Okay.
Plus we're going to be painting this buckle part silver, so having a slightly darker brown there will be good to help play up the silver more. But yeah, you do want to work around it just ever so slightly.
I will do my best. Meanwhile, Nunone wants to know, Mark, how do you think Brother Uriah would have fared in the Black Pits?
You know, it would depend on who he was with. I think if the rest of the Black Dice Society was there to help keep him safe, then he could play his usual role of healer and support, throwing in the occasional guiding bolt. If it was just him in a one-on-one thing, he's a gentle soul. He's not made for gladiatorial combat. That said, if Aslan, on the other hand, would have a delightful time blowing up things. So if he decided to show up.
Yeah, never underestimate the abilities of a cleric to wreck house when they need to.
That's true. There is I mean, he also, depending on what level he's doing it at, if he's able to call for divine intervention, if Ezra / the Raven Queen gets involved, then it's a whole different ballgame. That said, I wonder. I can say for sure, because I played both of them, Baloth and Aslan would not get along.
No.
Oh.
No. Well, lawful and chaotic. Yeah. I don't think Aslan would think much of Baloth.
I think Baloth and Voronika would.
Oh, definitely. Most definitely.
Those two, yeah.
Also, I think about it though, Aslan is famous, so Baloth would probably try to suck up to him.
Ooh, this is true.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Gosh, what a conversation.
I also think Voronika is just in general more amicable to be friendly with people. I get the sense Aslan is very much if you're no use to me immediately, I don't care. Whereas Voronika seems to have social graces.
Oh yeah, because she knows that that's a good way to gauge if people are going to be useful for her.
Yeah.
That's true. Though Aslan is he's always quite polite with Voronika, for example.
Oh yes, they have a lovely frenemy-ship. It's mutual admiration society, except you're frenemies. Yeah,
Yes.
something along those lines. It's complicated, all right? It's complicated with those two.
Dark Lords by their nature. Oh, now here's the thing. I was just painting the inside. I was being very careful and not getting the edges. Should I worry about that?
If you want to get those, because it lips over, there are those edges there. If you want to get them, sure.
Gotcha.
We do have a fun follow-up about that. If Brother Uriah was paired up with the champs who were there during the Idol Champions Presents that you ran for the Black Pits, which were Freely, Briv, Whittle, Tatiana, and Minsk, do you think Brother Uriah would do well in that grouping?
I think so. I mean, Tatiana, of course, would probably be inclined to help protect him. And yeah, for the most part, those are all. Actually, it would be a unique experience for him, like adventuring with people who are mostly good.
This is true.
He's used to being the sole moral compass of any group. I tell a lie.
Although, admittedly, in the Black Pits, it's less about are you good or are you evil, and mostly are you willing to just throw down for glory and fame, which, as much as all of those characters are good, they're also excited about just getting into a scrap. So
That's true.
They could definitely use a healer, though.
Oh boy.
And actually, especially in a group that hits hard like that, Uriah's Path to the Grave ability of a Grave Cleric would really come in handy.
Yeah.
And especially when, as is often the case in the Black Pits, you're going up against monsters that are invulnerable to certain things, that have complete immunity or heavy resistance to something.
That's very true. Yeah, I can imagine Brother Uriah dropping the Path to the Grave and then one of those paladins deciding to smite, and it just being more damage than could possibly be calculated easily. One of those moments where you press the button on D&D Beyond and it goes, okay, give me a minute.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Let me think a moment here.
Yeah.
I'm also doing that little piece up on the neck, like in like it was a choker piece on a pendant. Look. So that's also getting painted up. So that is what I have done for the chest plate.
Yeah.
Getting that all squared away.
The Lurking Rider has an interesting question for the two of us. They want to know, so when will Orkira meet Brother Uriah? I know she's had a good time mostly with Tatiana and Desmond. I mean, I don't know, Mark, how you consider this moment, but technically Orkira has met Brother Uriah, kinda.
Yes. At was it PAX? I want to say it was PAX.
Yeah, when we did the Rivals of Waterdeep thing, the show up at the last minute and be like, "Hi, we're here to help," because that's a large dragon.
Yes, so some sort of mythical, legendary dragon, much tougher. Like we're talking, it seemed to be like Tiamat levels tough, and it was us who provided essentially. We actually Uriah provided his path to the grave ability to the heroes to help, and we were all sort of appearing as ghostly, misty forms appearing from other realms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'd say that counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
We may not have been physically present. The characters may not have been physically present in the same space, but it was like a Zoom call. It was like they were on a Zoom call.
It was. That's a very good way. It was like a Zoom call. I like that explanation.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, I'm going to shift over to Parasite Brown, and that's going to go on to all of the straps and the belt area. Oops, go across the belt area.
Okay.
With Parasite Brown.
And if they ever got a chance to hang out outside of a Zoom call, I think they'd get along famously. I mean, Orkira kind of gets along with everybody unless you're obviously a bad person. I think, so I think she'd be more than happy, especially to hang out with another cleric. There would be lots of questions. She is very familiar with the Raven Queen and a fan, so depending on how Brother Uriah announced who his patron was, there could be that fun moment of, oh, tell her I said hi.
Yeah, in the latter stage of his career, he tended to use both titles, like Ezra, known as the Raven Queen, or whatnot.
Yeah. All right, so here's a weird question. Has Brother Uriah ever met a Dragonborn? Or would meeting Orkira in person be a surprise?
I think it would be. He's met dragons before, and he, of course, coming from Ravenloft, he was whenever he met sort of like just a pure, shall we say, fantasy creature, like when they met the unicorn or the dragon, like, that was really impressive to him, because he's used to seeing awesome sights, but they usually involve undeath and and evil and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I use awesome in the original sense, like inspiring awe and terror.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm desperately trying to mix up my Parasite Brown. It's
separated
Ew.
a little bit, yeah.
More than a little bit. Oof, that was...
Oh, dear.
Ooh, that was not fun. Okay. Meanwhile...
So aptly name?
Yeah, it was grungy. Rhaegar has a question for all three of us. For each of you, pick one of the new Idle Champions Presents players you haven't been at a virtual table with that would be most excited about playing with. Ooh, interesting. I mean, Mark, you've probably had the opportunity to play with most of them because Baloth has been in a couple of those.
This is true, yes. And certainly, obviously, all Black Day Society members I am well acquainted with. So let's see. I mean, who's been added most recently?
We have...
Beyond those.
One moment, please.
Oh, V's gonna look.
This one? Is that what we're asking?
So that's...
There we go.
That's our most recent crew that was literally just announced, and that would include... So the characters that people would know about, Ellen Rose plays Merylwyn, who is a druid. Johnny, they play Rust, who is a Tabaxi... Rogue? Yes.
Yep.
All I remember from Rust in this very moment is how much they like gold. And Rhiannon is a...
Paladin.
Sentry from the High Rollers. So a couple from Outside Extra, a couple from High Rollers. Mark and Gabe are playing new characters who we haven't quite met yet.
Yes.
I guess outside of that, has there been an Idle Champions Presents that you haven't been a part of?
Yeah, I've been in Baloth's been in most of the other ones.
Yeah.
I think
Like
so.
Uriah obviously has, because he's just been put in the game. He's never been in one, but other Black Dice Society. It was funny because I've also played Baloth in games with other members of, like, with Tatiana and Desmond. With, Becca and DJ. So it was hilarious playing a chaotic, evil drow sorcerer opposite those characters when they're used to seeing me as Uriah.
I mean, I think you also do a very good job of helping Baloth come up with reasons why he would work with all of these goody two-shoes.
It's mostly because they're well known. If you have any chance of bringing people to the audience members to the Black Pits, he's probably fairly friendly to you.
So yeah, I guess for you it would just be this newer crew. If there's any of them that either Brother Uriah or Baloth would have fun playing with. I don't know.
Now, Mark and Gabe's characters are, you said, currently secret, right?
Yes, they're new developments.
We've learned their names. That is it.
Okay,
Yes.
so these are characters that have never been seen before in any stream.
Correct.
Okay, brand
Yeah.
new characters. Interesting.
Yes.
Well, you
Mark,
know, I like surprises, so you can put me in with either. My answer is like either Gabe or Mark's new character. Surprise me. Mhm.
Interesting. I like it.
Now,
Brother Uriah gets along with so many people. I think he would easily get along with either Baloth. Oh, I'm unsure. That I don't want to give anything away, but I'm unsure. How about you, V? What you've had a chance to be Veronica in a one shot and then show up in Court of the Raven
yes,
Queen.
yeah, haunt and terrify Desmond and Tatiana.
Yeah.
See, I have
And
a very
confuse the
unfair
rest of us.
advantage of I've been part of the whole development of these two characters. So knowing these two characters, there is one that she would absolutely flock to and probably go out and have some tea in both sense of the word. Dish some tea, drink some tea, sip some tea.
Interesting.
I'm not going to say which one. I want to see if people can figure it out because you're going to have to tune in and watch and see these characters in action.
Now, when does that debut?
That
I know
is
you just announced it.
February 20th it's going to happen. So not next Monday, but the
Nice.
Monday after. However, voting does start next Monday. So if you like doing all those votes where you can affect the stream, make sure you start logging in.
I
Next
certainly
Monday.
remember a few of those from my time.
Mhm.
Oh,
on
yes.
Idle Champions.
Right?
We really appreciate those.
Yes, absolutely. So
Especially
appreciate.
not at all when they're the rhyming ones.
Oh, geesh. That and there was the talking backwards that I had to do, which was a challenge.
I love those ones. I could do those all day.
Those you came up with a really fun way of doing that. I was just struggling in order to figure out how to say things backwards. I did have a lot of fun with the Court of the Raven Queen when we had you get to double your damage dice or do double
That was
spells,
awesome.
but you have a 50% chance that you just don't get an action, which was a fun role-playing moment when B Dave kept rolling for me to not get my action. It's like, but I just want to do the thing. Why is this not working?
I want to do the thing.
And then when it works, it's just kind of epic and awesome. I know Shaka had quite the amazing disintegrate thanks to the
God,
chat.
That was killer, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
that
So
one a
for
lot.
those who are new to the Idle Champions Presents voting, not only do you get a chance to affect the game, but every time you vote, you get a token. There's one vote a day, and that token is used to unlock goodies. Just for playing and just for voting. You don't have to do anything else except show up once a day, vote for what you would like to see happen in the game, and then use that token to get goodies. And those goodies are real nice. They include, I know there's a familiar that's going to be available.
Yes.
There's going to be lots of scrolls and potions and
Yeah.
chests, and if you vote 3 times in a week, you get a special unlock that just happens. So remember to stop on by and do your voting and bring the players grief and or joy and get yourself some goodies. Trying
It's
to
definitely
get
worth it.
under the armpit again of this hamster is
Yeah, the underarm pitties are interesting, huh?
okay.
Now, B, you're doing all the straps in this color, yeah? So
Yep,
anywhere
yep,
we see
all-
a strap, paint it up.
Basically. Yep.
One around his neck as well?
Yes, definitely the one around his neck too.
Barefoot
got
Monkey, I will clarify, although it's probably not a spoiler, but I do highly recommend you go watch Court of the Raven Queen. It's a lot of fun. I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. But Shaka was the disintegrate-er, not the disintegrate-e.
Yes. Oh, that's a good clarification point.
Yeah, the Shaka had been given the the joy of when you cast a spell, you get to cast it twice without using a second spell slot. It just happens. And he cast Disintegrate, and he got to disintegrate something twice, and it was several hundred points of damage.
Oh, it was impressive. It was highly
amazing.
Impressive.
And like we were high level characters, but even at that high of a level, it was a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah.
Impressive.
It was Paladin going supernova amounts of damage.
But it's always fun to see that happen.
Gliding Secret wants to know from Mark, do you collect or paint minis regularly? And if so, can we see a few of them?
I collect, certainly, on a very regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of paint, like, during the pandemic, when it first started happening, I had all these unpainted minis, so it was like, all right, so this is a chance to finally get some paint on this plastic. And so I made a little dent, and then people very kindly started giving me minis, and now I have more than I will ever get to paint. So especially for my campaigns, like especially for my D&D in a Castle campaigns, I often get my friend Courtney over at Figuratively Speaking Miniatures on IG, and she has painted up quite a few for me. I don't have. Hold on, I've got a couple within reach. Let me just. Yeah. I'll be right back.
Yeah, they're easily within reach. Go for it. Yeah.
Courtney is definitely, please go and check out and follow on Instagram. Love the work Courtney does. And I always say, like, check out other mini painters. Yes, we show you how to paint here, but seeing what other mini painters do is a great way to get inspiration for different things you can start to do with your own painting. And I love Courtney's work, so please go check out and follow while you're there. And then you get to see the cool minis that Mark is getting from Courtney if you do that.
Yeah. So, let's see. The ones that were just immediately here. This is a rather excellent zombie giant. Yeah. This one's a WizKids one, I believe.
Oh, that is definitely cool.
And there are a couple. These ones were actually printed for me by Joe Levin of Encounter Terrain at D&D in a Castle. Nice. Yeah, he had his printer there and was doing like custom minis.
Yeah.
Wow,
it was great. So there were two that he did for me. One was someone who's actually in the game.
Hey, Dungeon Master.
Yeah. And so Courtney painted that for me. She also painted this, which Joe made for me. This is just a mini of me.
Oh, that's so cool.
I was doing a Halloween game at D&D in a Castle.
That's awesome.
So he made me the DM of Halloween. So it was very nice.
It is interesting when you have yourself immortalized as a miniature.
It's true. Not the first time it's happened.
Right?
All right.
A couple times.
Did you paint your mini of yourself?
This is the first one as me.
Okay.
No, Courtney did it as well. And again, it was just, for the fine. It was like, I did not trust myself to be able to get the fine detail. Also, you never actually know what you look like. Other people know what you look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you look like in a mirror.
True.
Yep, what you look like and what you sound like. That's why I got to do a lot of recording to listen back when I'm practicing oboe or doing any voiceover stuff. It's the resonance of my own head interferes with my oboe playing. So I don't exactly know how I sound to other people outside of my own body.
Is always the way.
Yep. Let's see. Nunown wants to know, for all three of us, what is your favorite D&D monster, both to run into as a character and to run as a DM?
Ooh.
I always like the mastermind type villains, the spellcasty types, liches, obviously, a classic. You also can't beat a good dragon. Let's face it.
Yeah. I was about to say I tend to enjoy the dragon encounters. For all the jokes of how people play Dungeons and Dragons and never encounter a dragon, I think I've encountered almost 10 now.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they've always
collecting them all.
You're right. They've always been really neat ones to interact with and fight and everything like that. So yeah, I like those dragons. Those are neat.
Yeah. I am always a fan, both as a DM and as a player, of running into creatures that are more than just bags of hit points or have some spells that have some kind of unique mechanic. And so it's going to sound a little weird But my favorite to run and to run into, and I've had the chance to do both, is a flail snail. Because that shell offers some real fun opportunities for almost a puzzle in the middle of a game. They're not so deadly that if you make a mistake and have to, you're still learning what this flail snail can do, it's just going to kill you.
Right.
And it's also one of the few canon creatures in the monster manual that once it dies, you can loot its body and do something real cool with that shell. And it details that in the stat block. So I really like running that as a DM, especially for players who come into the game and are coming from like an MMO or some other RPG in where, all right, I loot the body is just something that they always do. Yeah. And it gives them like an extra little quest. All right, you got this giant 500-pound shell that if you can get it somewhere and do something with it, it's going to do something real cool. Have fun.
Oh, that's neat. Okay, I'm switching over to earth, and I'm actually going to dry brush earth onto where we've just done all the leather work. Both colors.
Both? Okay, cool.
But do it as a dry brush. This is going to kind of give it the fun, leathery look.
Okay. I still got to get a couple straps on the back.
Yeah, totally okay.
Me too. I am behind, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I had to answer questions. My painting
I know.
goes so...
That's the trick of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Grunkle Mary, for your question of can you put that snail shell in a bag of holding? Technically no, but it depends on how my players try to be clever about it. Yeah, because if they've got a bag of holding, that is kind of the way you transport that thing, unless you have a barbarian who just doesn't mind being a pack mule. Right. But yes, technically it doesn't open wide enough. But if they've got one and they're going to be clever about it, I'm all for, all right, how do you open up this bag wide enough to get that shell in there? And then how do you open that bag up wide enough to get it back out? You tell me.
That's some Alice in Wonderland tricks right there.
The bag of holding is already a magic item that I enjoy playing with in the most ridiculous ways. So if someone has a bag and they're like, but I think I can do this, I'm willing to roll with just about anything.
There you
go.
go.
We saw some particularly good use of a bag of holding in the Black Pits, as I recall.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely go check that out. Intentional good use of a bag of holding, unlike sometimes in where the bag of holding gets used.
It was unintentional in the second one, ICP Trials of Tiamat. That was not as planned. Still interesting, but not quite so well planned.
That was a fun moment too. And question colon, along with a couple of other people in chat, when we were talking about the talking backwards and the rhyming and things. So I'll ask you, Mark, as you talk about how much fun you had doing that, and obviously you've got quite the impressive improv background. How do you even think about talking backwards in improv in that moment? Like, is there a process, or you just kind of go for it and see what you can do?
Now, as I recall, in the game, I cheated and I just did I interpreted that as like literally talking backwards. So whenever I spoke, it was like the Twin Peaks thing.
Yeah. I don't see that as cheating. I saw that as being very clever about it.
I do. There is a particular trick though to rhyming. When you're rhyming in, improvising a song or it's improvising rhyming verse, think of the word that you want to end on, and then give yourself something to seed to that. So if you want to rhyme, say, end on shield, know that that's where you're going, and then you can work yield into a sentence before it. It's practice, like everything else. I mean, I had an advantage in that, as you say, I do a lot of improv, and so a lot of those things were essentially just like improv games.
Yeah.
There you go, chat. Practical improv suggestions for all of you to use in your next D&D game.
To wow your players and or DM.
Yeah,
So you
when
can
we
see-
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, by putting the earth brown over, or the earth rather, over those other two browns, it kind of mutes it down and makes it look more leathery.
Yeah. There's Earth. I'm finally catching up on the dry brushing myself. I had the good fortune before that episode of Court of the Raven Queen, where in an offline game I had played Zatanna. So I had already
I was part of that game, I believe.
You were, and so you were very familiar with the website I had pulled up when it happened, where I'm like, all right, I know the website I used to cheat it when I'm doing Zatanna. Let's just go with that. And then the question came up that I think was the only thing that stymied B Dave for once, which was, wait, are we just saying the words in the backward order, or are we doing like mirroring backwards? And he's like, whatever you want to do is fine. So I just leaned into the Zatanna version of things and hoped that when I got it wrong, because I knew I was going to get it wrong, that no one was going to mind. Lurking Rider mentions we haven't had bardic inspiration in a while, but that tip also works for songwriting. The thinking of the word that you want to go to.
Yes.
That makes sense.
It does that.
They also want to know, will you run your bag of holding game on stream again one day? Maybe. I wouldn't run the same game. I would definitely come up with something new, but you know me, any chance I have to fool around with a bag of holding makes me happy, because it is, outside of the alchemy jug, I believe it is the most fun, ridiculous magic item in D&D, and any chance I get to play with it and ask people questions about it.
But a bag of holding can't produce a gallon of mayonnaise on demand.
This is true, but a bag of holding can do many, many other things depending on...
I mean, it could if you had put a gallon of mayonnaise in it at some point beforehand.
So I'm not going to go into the whole... I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole too far, but I have to ask you, in your mind, when you put things into a bag of holding, do they interact with each other, or are they in their own separate little... Not demi-planes, but they are separate from each other?
Well, I think there's one item that specifically does that. Like, I can't even remember if it's in this edition. The pouch of accessibility, where, and they sort of make the distinction between. Again, I always get my editions. I have so many editions floating in my head, so I get them confused. But I remember, at least in one edition, the distinction was made that the bag of holding was basically like just a big extra dimensional space that you throw stuff in, and so if you want something specific, you kind of have to root around in it, and you might have to take a bunch of stuff out to find what you wanted, what you were looking for. Pouch of accessibility, everything was in its own little interdimensional pocket, and so whenever you reached into the pouch, whatever you were looking for was like just right there in your hand.
Yeah. Whereas I believe the pouch of accessibility is not in 5th edition.
No, Heward's though. Heward's handy haversack is, and
that one is. Yeah.
It's got the same thing. I think that whatever you're looking for is right at the top of the backpack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one says you just put your hand in, and whatever you're thinking about, you pull out. The bag of holding has none of that.
No.
So it's always fun to ask people, oh, so you're going to put that gallon of mayonnaise in the bag of holding? Does it get over everything or not? And then
I'd say in a bag of holding, yeah. I would say if they just poured some mayonnaise into a bag of holding, it's like,
oh Lord.
Most of what's in there is now coated in a thin layer of mayonnaise.
That's amazing.
So greasy.
And then when you are bargaining with the dragon the next time, and we have this epic sword for you in our bag of mayonnaise here, covered in mayonnaise.
Now, how do you run in a bag of holding? Do you generally say that exterior events can't affect the bag of holding, or if stuff's in a bag of holding and the person who's holding it is like walking around with it on their back, is that stuff getting jostled around inside?
I believe it's not getting jostled, because
I usually do that. Yeah. It's sort of like just in a big closet somewhere, but it's not being affected by what's happening outside the bag.
Yeah, but stuff in the bag of holding, I do believe, can affect the bag itself. Because I'm one of those people that think that it can interact. And so if someone goes in the bag of holding with a sword and decides to, or someone goes in the bag of holding and grabs a sword that's in the bag of holding in those 10 minutes of air that you have, yeah, you can rupture the bag and get yourself out. And then, the whole thing with the astral plane and everything happening happens. But, that's just half the fun of a bag.
What does the inside of a bag of holding feel like? Does it feel like leather? Is it just like you're surrounded by leather everywhere?
So I've always pictured it like a sensory deprivation tank. It's just, you can't hear, you can't see, but when you think of things, you can, just like if you're putting your hand in there, it just appears in your hand. And so if you're inside of it, you can't hear anything, you can't see anything, you can't smell anything, but when you think of grabbing a thing, and so if you think of grabbing the side of the bag, you feel the side of the bag. But that's me. Like, all of this is just, what do you think?
Exactly. I don't know. I could see playing it either way. Like, if somebody went into a bag of holding with a light spell active, would they just see, like, as if they're inside a giant bag? Or would it just look like, oh, it just looks like a storage area, like it's a square room? Or is it everything's just sort of floating around me like we were in a gelatinous cube? Who knows?
Kind of say it as Warehouse 13.
Yeah. Everything's like neatly on shelves in boxes.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. I do like that idea.
All right, so I've just gone through with silver, and I'm doing the accents of the rivets. And then the little chain link that's on the bottom here. It's such a tiny little detail, but there's silver on this little bit here.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that until you pointed it out.
And then there's the 2 rivets up there. And then what I'm going to do is take the glorious gold, and I'm going to run it onto the upper clasp here just to kind of give it some visual interest. Change it up a little bit.
Meanwhile, I'm going to catch up with the silver now that I even know that that's there. Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing? I'm still doing dry brushing.
Oh, jeez.
I just finished. I am not that far ahead. I'm literally only
and it's
10 seconds ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing because you two are doing the back and forth with chat, and I'm just kind of getting the painting so people can see what's going on.
V is doing very well keeping us on track. This is Paint and Slay. Let us paint.
He's the painting. But yeah, I just wanted to...
Oh, Counting Coup has a specific question about a specific Idle Champions Presents. Do you have a favorite moment from that game that's an improv? Oh no, I remember. I'm sorry, I got this wrong. Do you have a favorite moment from the Idle Champions based improv show that you did with Christina Ariel? Which the name of that show I can't remember at the moment, but
oh man, that was a lot of fun. We were basically just improvising as we watched people play Idle Champions. But calling it as if it was a sports event. And so it was great to work with Christina on that. We had some very fun times. Hard to pick out one particular gag, but that's the other thing. We were also throwing in the voices of the various Idle Champions, and so this was before Bailoff was actually in the game, as I recall.
Oh, wow.
I think they did up a little cartoon head for me, just so you could have our heads in the boxes, but he wasn't actually quite in the game yet. So I was doing the voices of, and it was like sort of like the main initial champions. So Burinor and Jarlaxle. I did Jarlaxle a lot as well, and a lot of in jokes and running stuff just came up because we did a bunch of those shows. So that was really fun. Idle, what did we call it?
I can't remember. Chat, help us.
It was Idle?
Improv Champions. Thank you,
Improv
Christian
Champions.
Colin.
There you go. Improv Champions of the Forgotten Realms. And there was, especially because, of course, in this game you fight waves and waves of foes. Some of it was like the character just like, oh boy, wow, there's a lot of those abyssal chickens, aren't there?
They just keep coming.
Good times was had on that show.
There you go.
And then, and this is where I got confused when I saw the question. I thought they were asking specifically about the Idle Champions Presents that the two of you were on, which just kind of continued that fun.
Mm-hmm.
The Lurking Writer wants to know is an astral dreadnought an organic bag of holding?
Yeah, I think so.
A temporary organic bag of holding, because I
True.
don't think you can stay inside it very long.
Do they have a digestive system, or is it largely just ideas that they run on?
I guess it depends on what you consider that extra dimensional space that you end up in, but I think that's well, now I know what I'm doing after this show.
Right? I'm like, that's going to be looked up soon.
Yeah. Because it's questions like that. What I love about questions like that and going into the whole, bag of holding thing is it's less about coming up with the quote unquote right answer, because there's no right answer. But considering those kind of questions are one of the ways that I find adventures that I want to run for my players, of like, well, what is actually going on inside of an astral dreadnought? And, what is that extra dimensional space in there? Well, let's have my players end up in one and see what happens. V, when you were talking about the gold, where were you putting that?
Just on that top clasp right there.
Okay.
And that's where it's going to live there.
This is a fancy
Where's my gold? Ah, glorious gold.
Yes.
Now, of course, I'm just starting all my metal bits.
Totally okay.
So, gold was for the one that... Would it be possible? What would you think of putting gold on all of his metalwork?
Go for it. This is your mini, so if that's what you want to do, if that's what speaks to you, then I say do the gold.
Yeah.
I think
Make
I might try
fancy.
that. I'm going to be fancy hamster.
I like it.
Fancy hamster. Mitzi Moo wants to know, are these Paint and Slay episodes going to go onto YouTube again, please? I actually have a 6-month-old hamster, and he is cute, so I'll need to get these episodes for sure. Love you guys. Aw. Yes, all of our Paint and Slay episodes are up on the Idle Champions, or on the Codename Entertainment YouTube. Yeah. Yep. We are up to date, so the first... last week's episode should already be up on the YouTube, and this one will go up in a few days. Depending on how obstinate how obstinate uploads are for YouTube. But yes, if you go to, I'll go ahead and put it in chat. We've got 2 different YouTube channels, and the C&E Games YouTube channels where all of the Paint and Slay episodes are. They're all in a very good playlist, so you can find them all. And I have been making sure to get them uploaded in time so that when we have a paint like this that's multiple episodes, that people have time to go back and do episode 1 if they're trying to catch up.
There you go.
So, the new shop items have apparently gone into the game.
Oh, have they?
Which we hadn't talked about at the beginning because they were just going on in, but they must be in because Cassius335 is asking about Nova and their new outfit. So,
do we want to? Should we?
Yeah, go ahead if we've got a moment and put it on up. So. Ta-da! To go along with the new Idle Champions Presents that is starting in a week and a few days, because some of the Heroes of Erois are showing up in the game, there is now the Heroes of Erois. You can get an entire pack, which is what we're showing, of Dragonlance skins. They do also come individually if you'd like to just buy one or a couple of the champions. And so what Cassius335 asks is, why is Nova dressed like Q from Star Trek, which is amazing. And I think it's just the hat that's putting that off. But all of these champions are based on the from the Dragonlance book. There are a bunch of different. It's the Mages of High Sorcery, if I remember correctly, and there's 3 different colors that you could be associated with depending on which moon you're associated with, and so all of these champions have drawn inspiration from that. But yes, yeah, I do see where you're getting that with the hat, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's pulling from various aspects of different groups, and schools and everything from Dragonlance in general for all of these. So you definitely have your red robes being nodded to with Lucius and Nova and fun things like that.
Yeah. So those are now available. They were going live just as our show was going live. So we wanted to make sure that it was, because, you know, that kind of thing can take a minute or two to update. But I guess it must be updated if you're seeing them now. So go check that out. Like I said, you can buy each of these individually, or you can get the entire pack for a discount. So if you would like the entire Heroes of Erois as Dragonlance characters, there you go. And then I've lost track of where I am. What are you working on now, V?
Right now I have taken charred brown, and what I'm doing is painting the support bars and the back piece to the pack.
Okay.
Just with straight up charred brown. No mixing needed. Just put it onto the mini and away you go.
Oh, these are the sort of tusk looking things that are on the sides?
Yeah. Kind of like almost sled rails. It's kind of a good way to nod to them.
Trying to decide which. I keep trying to go for a larger brush, and then I look at the mini, and I'm like,
this is all detail brush work. Yeah.
Yeah. Small brush time.
The crate.
Everybody is enjoying looking at the new skins in chat.
Oh, good. Yeah, the artists definitely had a lot of fun with those for this.
On top of that, now they're also talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation, which I approve of. It's a great show. And hey, if one of these skins reminds you of that awesome show, I'm here for it. I've yet to catch up on the Picard show, though, so don't spoil me on anything.
Samesies. No Picard spoilers, please.
Yeah, there's only so many shows I can keep up with, and that one is on Paramount Plus, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's one of the streaming things that we don't have, because you can only have so many.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous how much there is. I have actually been dancing around because Prime's like doing like, hey, free trial of this, free trial of that. So I was like, all right, well, let me try BritBox and see what that one's about. And it was okay. I wasn't nuts about the selection, so I canceled the free trial.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, there's the Sundance channel, and I tend to like a lot of the things from Sundance, so yeah, let me check that one out. So I'm on the free trial for that one now, too. But then I found out, if you have Prime and you do like certain shipping stuff and they give you credits, those credits can then go towards the subscriptions you have for channels for your Prime Video.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, so if I order something I don't need it right away and I get those delivery credits, that'll pay for my channel each month? Cool. So
okay.
I'm like, no, hey.
We get Picard because we don't have the opportunity for Paramount Plus, so we just get it on a normal station, which is nice. Speaking of Picard, and because it's Uriah's week, Dr. Rudolph Van Richten from the Black Die Society, Mr. Todd Stashwick, is going to be in the new season of Picard as a starship captain.
Oh, excellent.
Captain of the Titan, I believe.
Well,
Been
more reason for me to catch up.
Yeah, Todd's been putting some posts up on Twitter, and I've been enjoying seeing the updates from him. It's quite lovely to see the excitement.
Well, I'm definitely going to have to look into that. We've been rotating through services because, you can only have so many because, money and time. And we just haven't had a chance to dive into the Paramount Plus stuff yet. I managed to get Apple. Was it Apple Plus? Whatever the Apple one was. Yeah. I had that for a good month and a half so that I could catch up on Foundation. And there was something else we got it for.
Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso?
No, I actually did not watch Ted Lasso, and I felt bad afterwards when we canceled the subscription because everyone afterwards is like, why didn't you watch Ted Lasso? Oh, I completely forgot. I'll catch up on that the next time.
There you go.
We have a We have a couple bucks set aside that just becomes our rotating subscription. Well, what kind of show is out now that we want to watch? All right, well, I guess this is our time for HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Now, V, are you're not doing the bands on the side, right? Like you're just getting the sort of curved part itself.
Right. Yeah, just the curved part itself. The bands I'm going to paint with silver. It's like I'm looking at the color right now and forgetting its name. That's fun.
You know, it's like we talk for a living or something.
Right?
That's all right. It took me most of that chat in order to remember that service was a word.
Isn't that funny how sometimes words just go like, nah, I don't feel like playing right now. Bye.
Mm-hmm. And it's usually at the moment where you need words to happen. Like, say, you're on stream.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, my perspicacity.
Oh, God. Amazing.
Yes. Sean is talking about Prime has the Legend of Vox Machina, which...
Yep.
Oh, yes.
I have not gotten to... Sean, please don't come at me. I have not watched that one yet.
It's so good.
Yeah.
That's what I keep
really
hearing. Good. I think I might binge that not this coming weekend, but next weekend. I have too much going on this weekend.
The nice thing for those who like binging is they're not like
they're short,
hour and a half long
hour.
episodes, so you can get through a bunch.
That's why
I haven't seen the most recent that just came out last night, today.
Yeah, today. Or, well, midnight last night. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen those, but I've caught up on the rest. And yeah, it is definitely... Yeah, Grunkle Mary says Vox Machina is great, but it's heavy.
That's...
Yes.
I'm hearing that, yeah.
But I think they do a good enough job in the first episode of each season establishing that heavy tone as, hey, this isn't a show for kids. So I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so I finished doing the charred brown on the main wooden features of those sidebars. Okay. What I'm going to do is go back to dark flesh tone, and this is going to become a base for the silver, so I'm going to paint the dark flesh tone on what's going to become the silver bands. If I do straight up silver right now, it's going to be very bright and cheerful and clean and pretty, and this is a backpack. That's not something that's going to kind of translate well for the metal. So by putting the dark flesh tone underneath as the base color for the silver that's going to go over it, it gives it a little bit more of a weathered, that's the word I'm looking for, a weathered effect to it.
Also, the silver is remarkably see-through, so it makes sense to have...
very thin, yeah.
Yeah, to have a base on it. I still have this whole other side to get painted, though, so I'm not quite there yet.
No, that's totally fine.
Was this charred brown being used for anything else besides these side guys?
Here. Not seeing it. Nope.
Cool.
Nope.
Okay. Whew, I'm almost caught up.
Nice.
I did a very speedy dry brushing. I think I'll want to go back and revisit
absolutely,
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah. I usually have some homework on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I just want to finish dry brushing this and make sure I'm taking care of that. And especially super gluing bases tends to be my homework as well.
Yeah, there's some stuff that's like, well, quite frankly, like if we don't get to the base today, Mark, I will send you notes how to finish the base up for this.
Lovely.
But bases tend to be...
What were you thinking?
Very straightforward. Charred brown at the end and then dry brushing with dark flesh tone. Cool. So basically taking the most recent two colors and blending them together so it looks like a dark earth. But those tend to be more straightforward and finished, so that's where I feel comfortable telling the child, it's like, hey, if you're doing this at home, just paint on this color first, let it dry, and then dry brush it, and then it'll be done. Ta-da! And that way we can focus on the more detailed-oriented bits where it's more helpful to see those in action than let's paint another base.
Because sometimes it is not all about that base.
No. No trouble.
Nope.
Because you're all about that base. No trouble. I'm all about that base. I'm going to stop now because Twitch.
Because Twitch. Question Colin wants to know, and this is probably because of the awesome mini that you did for Latia the other week, is V's hamster destined to be a gift for someone similar to the burb for Latia?
I am tempted. I am thinking about it. I'm not going to say it out loud. The burb. What's funny is I still have the burb because I'm waiting for like the perfect shipment box to show up. I still have yet to find the right box for shipping it in.
Yeah.
So it is going to get to Latia as soon as I find the right means of transportation for it. So yeah, but I'm thinking maybe, but it also depends on how attached I get to this, because I'm sorry, this face is so cute.
It's pretty adorable.
Yeah, if I'm too attached to it, I don't think I can say goodbye to it. So that's why I'm not going to say, yeah, I'm absolutely shipping this to so and so. I have a feeling I might keep it.
I mean, we can always paint another one.
I know.
Remind me, what was that color that you're doing right now for the base for the silver?
Dark flesh tone.
Ah, thank you.
You're welcome.
The Lurking Writer wants to know, for V, I know that you paint the bases, but have you ever made modifications like adding grass or other landscape textures?
Hold on just 1 second. I do. Ta-da!
Hey. And we've done a bit of that ourselves.
This is a base I custom built because these minis actually come free floating. They don't have bases. So I created special bases for these. So they actually fit together because they're two independent minis, but they nest together with the custom base I created. So yeah, I create my own bases too. It's fun.
It's super fun. And we have also used, I've got a couple of those stick-on grass bits.
The tufts. Yep.
The tufts and bunches of different colors. Hey, how alive would you like your grass to be? Very alive. Not as alive. Very dead.
Yeah.
This is grass that's supposed to be near an outhouse. It should be weathered and not very happy.
It's fun to play around with things and do different stuff.
Yeah, and especially the bases, because you can kind of go wild with them in a lot of ways because it's D&D. So,
oh yeah,
you can have it be just grass, but you can also have it be, purple rocks. Why not?
I mean, I have one where I got a mini, and the mini arrived missing a major part, so I couldn't put the mini together. So I actually kit bashed it by cutting up into pieces, and I made it look like this dragon that's emerging from the water. So I turned it into this aquatic dragon type of interpretation.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have it right.
What was it originally supposed to be?
It was originally supposed to be just a standard. I think it was supposed to be a standard black dragon. Hold on. Hi,
hold, please.
Holding.
Hold for cat.
Well, they're quite well. They like the swamps. Makes sense for them to.
So I did this. So I chopped up the dragon.
Great. Oh yeah.
And turned it into this water effect thing. And this is all like paper towels and stuff and Mod Podge put together and then just painting. So there's tons of different ways to create your bases and do cool things with it. It also tends to be sometimes more messy. I will say that.
All right, Lost Demented. V may know what this is, but I do not. They say ground pumas is great for base covering as gravel. What is ground puma?
Ground pumice?
Oh, it might be ground pumice. I might be reading this wrong. Ground pumice, maybe?
Do you mean pumice?
I'm like pumas, like the cat?
Or... See, that's the problem. My mind is going...
Yeah,
I believe
plant?
pumas are a protected species, so I don't think you can actually grind them.
Yeah.
No, that would be a weird thing. Yes, it is. It is
cat.
Ground pumice. Yes,
pumice. Okay.
My reading ability has apparently gone away as I'm trying to get this detail on this mini.
No, it's totally cool.
V, have you ever used ground pumice?
I have not. I actually tend to go for just traditional sandbox sand because you can also get, well, you can get sand in different grades of granular consistency. You can get very fine with like play sand, tends to be a finer sand. You can get more coarse like sand if you get construction sand.
Hmm.
Then the sand that people use for like traction purposes, that tends to be a mid-grade type of thing. But yeah, there's a lot you can grab just around your house even to make things. So it's fun.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've lived in a place that has needed to have sand or salt handy just in case the weather gets real bad. But
Yeah,
I
don't
do
use
remember.
salt. Don't use salt on your bases because that can
Yeah.
chemically react with things.
No chemical reactions in our D&D minis.
Yeah.
But we did have a bag of sand for those times and where the ice just got real bad.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know people who've used like traditional kitty litter, not the clumping style stuff, but like the traditional stuff, unscented.
Oh.
They've used that.
Oh, and Awkwardish Panda in chat says cork makes great rocks.
It does. Yep. If you shred it up and break it into itty bitty pieces, it looks good too. Or like when I build terrain and I have shavings left over of foam, you can use that for like more sharp rock type of effects on your bases. It's another fun thing to do.
Bellswin wants to know, my local game shop doesn't sell Vallejo paints, only Citadel. What's the difference between base, layer, contrast, and layer?
Base, layer, contrast, and layer?
Base, comma, layer, comma, contrast, comma. So I guess
honestly,
those are...
Okay, so base is like putting your base colors on. Contrast paints are paints that you can put over that sort of act like a wash and a dry brush layer at the same time. For the contrast paints. Shade is what deepens things, basically washes. That I like here, washes. This is the shades. That's a washed Nuln oil. And then I'm not sure what the base, because everything goes, I'm not sure what you mean by layers. That's what I would have to look at the bottles and see what you're talking about.
Yeah, base, layer, contrast, and shade are the four.
Okay. But yeah. I mean, I personally enjoy the shades from Citadel a lot. I have not tried out their contrast paints because I've sort of come up with my own technique that very much mimics the same paints, and I have so many paints. I don't need additional paints.
Oh, come on.
Like,
you know, there's always that one that you need.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone sends them to me for free, yeah, I'll give them a try. But I can't personally justify purchasing more paints when I don't need to purchase more paints. Is really what it comes down to for me.
That's fair. That's super fair.
Yeah.
I think we all, as D&D people, collect things, you know, dice, minis, paints. It's like, I don't need any more, and I certainly have more than I could possibly use in a lifetime. But what if I just got this one more?
Yeah. So for the sake of storage and, you know, not using funds where not needed.
I don't know.
You know, and everyone has their favorite brand too. I know people who swear by Army Painter paints. Not I. I'm not a fan of them as much. Citadels are good. Sometimes the Citadel pots can be interesting, so I wouldn't recommend those for beginning and intermediate people. But, you know, Vallejo's also a good one. And then I even use craft paints, so just depends.
Whatever works for you and you have access to.
Exactly.
V, we're now going to go over the bands with silver. Is that correct?
Yep, if you've already finished up with the dark flesh tone, you're just going to go in and do a thin coat of the silver on top of where we've just done the dark flesh tone.
There you go.
See what happens when you don't talk, you get more painting done. I was doing more of the talking this time.
Thank you, because I've also just gotten to the silver part.
There you go.
I climbed up, so I was able to actually get something done.
There you go. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun.
Well, I will do a bit more of talking because we do have people coming in from the game as we are halfway through our show, and I just got... How did I get dark flesh tone all over me? Ah! Well, I'll deal with that later. So if you're joining us from the game, hi and welcome. We are finishing up the Giant Space Hamster. We're on the last hour of our show. We've also been talking about the announcement of the new Idle Champions Presents that's starting up in a week and a couple of days, and just hanging out. So if you do have any questions for us about mini painting, about Idle Champions, if you have a question for the awesome Mark Meer, who has joined us for our mini painting, go ahead and put those in chat. Hello again. And put question in big capital letters so that I or Sean, whoever happens to be available at the time, can grab those and pass those along. Like Jaluti, Jaluti, who asks, thanks, Lauren. Now I want a 3D mini that is hollow and can be loaded for slime. Oh.
Ooh. Ooh.
Ooh, interesting.
That would be.
And the Lurking Writer says sawdust would be good for woodland detritus.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just fun to say.
Yeah.
All right, back to the silver.
So I'm just going to pull this across that dark flesh tone, and you can see it's a more weathered look, but it also translates as silver now, as opposed to had we just gone in with straight silver on top, it wouldn't really show up as well because the prime is such a pale white gray. So this just makes the silver pop a little bit better.
And this isn't dry brushing, this is straight on.
It's sort of
painting.
overbrushing, so I'm kind of streaking it over that dark area so it has a more hammered silver look to it.
Okay.
So you don't need perfect coverage on it. It's a little bit heavier handed than a dry brush, but it's not a perfect coating.
Okay. Ooh, Question Colon wants to know, how big is the Duragar that we're requiring 4 episodes for it? It's a pretty big Duragar, if I remember.
It's the same size as the Hamster. It's actually, it's more detailed oriented, and I'm going to be doing a lot of high detail work on this one. That's why we're looking at 4 episodes. Maybe 3.5, we'll see. But we've, like, Laura and I have talked about in the past, we want to make sure we can mark as much time as possible. Ooh, I almost spilled that. So safety reasons, we're calling it 4 episodes because there's a lot more details going into that than you would realize looking at it as just its primed form.
Yeah. It's a little easier to take our time and have extra time than it is to get towards the end and realize, oh, we still have a ton of stuff to do.
Yeah, like that has some really cool scale mail detail, and I want to go to each of those scales and like do that highlight edge thing as a fun technique, and that takes time. So anyways, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, they can enlarge, so Duragar can get very, very big.
He's a big one. They go from a medium to a large figure, basically.
Ah, no. Nope.
Nope. That's a nope.
Silver all over my fur.
Oh
no. To the water.
Oh. Quick. Pull it off.
All right, there we go.
Ta-da.
A moment when my paintbrush just goes rogue, and the next thing I know, Hamster has a streak across their face of silver.
It's war paint. There you go. So that's what it looks like once you add the silver on. Nicely done, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah, that really does give a nice weathered effect there. Oh, by the way, do you mind if I plug something?
Plug it in.
Go for it.
So, I am the keeper of arcane lore for a brand new Call of Cthulhu stream, a little mini series called The Bookshops of Arkham. It's going to be 4 episodes. We've already aired 3 on Roll20's Twitch, and that happens every Wednesday at 6 p.m. So the finale will be next Wednesday. And on, I believe it's the Sunday preceding that episode, the week's previous episode will go up on Chaosium's YouTube. So we've got 2 full episodes up on Chaosium's YouTube right now that you can watch at your leisure. And we also have what we're calling episode 2.5, which I'd like to promote because we had a heartbreaking loss of audio for one of our sessions. And sadly, it was a session that featured brilliant acting and real emotional stakes for a lot of the cast. So, yeah, as I mentioned, a heartbreaking loss. Yeah. However, we have done an audio recap. Think of it as a scary little podcast wherein Belinda, my wife, Belinda Cornish, who is one of the writers of the scenario, she was the one who went in and listened to what we had. Apparently, you could hear me fine, but it was the cast microphones that were sadly not picking up. But she transcribed everything and wrote a brilliant summary, which I did a dramatic reading of, essentially. And so that is, when you look at Chaosium's YouTube and you see episode 2.5, that's what that is. And that's up there right now.
And it's an absolutely engaging, awesome series. We
have such a great cast. It is, of course, Sage Ryan and Lucia and Patrick, Carlos. They're all fantastic. They're really they really bought into the horror of it all.
Mm-hmm. And some amazing guest stars, guest players, guests, guests in general.
Some fully embodied NPCs, including Mr. Dustin Fletcher, who did a great, like, when you see him in the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It was great to have so many NPCs that, you know, come in as like fully costumed characters, and Elder Eye Entertainment produced it down in Atlanta. We had a great time shooting it as well. So, as I say, Bookshops of Arkham on Chaosium YouTube and Roll20's Twitch.
There you go.
It is very cool. I'm excited about the finale, especially after what happened in the last episode, which I will not specify for spoiler reasons, but is absolutely worth a watch and a listen. All right.
I'm going back to dark flesh tone, and I'm going to paint it onto basically the crates. I totally walked into this one. The crates and barrels.
Oh, the crates and barrels, eh?
Oh, yeah. You know.
The barrels and crates.
Yes, the barrels and crates. There we go. So there are barrels on the side, and the crates you can see up here at the top and then on the base. So those are all going to get the same dark flesh tone.
Is it ironic that we're painting a whole bunch of not flesh things in dark flesh tone?
I know. It is not lost on me.
Counting Coup wants to know, and Mark, this might have been you. Yes. Who is responsible for Uriah's "This is my favorite store in Darkon" achievement?
You know, I'm not sure. I think, because of course we brainstorm these things. I can't remember who came up with that gag. I think that might have been someone. There you go. I think
nice.
I don't think I made that joke specifically, but I certainly appreciate it. And yes,
Aaron.
I love all of the little text bits that go with each of Uriah's items. You may have seen I was sharing them actually earlier this week, and there's some fun stuff in there, including the Van Richten fan art that Uriah did, which was memorably created in real life for me by Art and Audio on as we know her on Twitter, who was one of Black Dice Society's most dedicated fan artists.
Yeah, and she's got very distinct artwork, so it's fun to see.
Yeah.
Little nods too.
That was always an extra bit of fun during the episodes where you'd be watching Black Dice Society, and then all of a sudden Art and Audio would be like, so I drew this thing. Here's a link to the thing I just drew, and it would be just the scene that had just happened.
Yep, exactly. Oh, I just got paint in my hair.
Uh-oh.
No, I forgot I was using my hand as a palette, and I went to move my hair, and it was fresh, so I just went like, it washes. It
yeah,
washes
my hands
with
are
some
kind
hot
of
water.
pallets right now themselves.
Yeah, I swear this is how I do. Getting groceries later this evening too. This will be fun.
I only have a rehearsal, not a concert tonight, so if I'm covered in paint, it won't be quite so bad.
Yeah. And don't be finicky about trying to work around the rope completely. If you get some of this brown on the rope, that's totally okay, because if you think about it, rope has a bunch of different flecks of browns and taupes and tans. So
Gotcha.
it's a no fuss, no muss issue.
What about all the sacks and stuff? Do we have to be very careful with those?
The sacks we're going to paint after this, so we'll be okay. They're going to be a lighter color, but it'll still kind of translate into just sort of like a shadow bit of the fabric. That's why I wanted to start off with a darker color first.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are a lot of, between the ropes and the crates themselves having a lot of the higher raised bits on them, there's a lot of nooks and crannies.
Yeah, there really is a lot going on here.
Which is super cool, but it does take a little bit of extra poking to get in all the places.
It does, and you still kind of need the detail size brush to get into all those nooks and crannies is the other fun factor with this. So
Question Colon wants to know, this is a question for me. How was the second day of Arkenholt University? It went real well. I mean, we fought a lich and won, which is a weird thing to say at 4th level. But you know, when
yeah.
Well, yeah, it was an interesting moment. So the whole premise of this game that I'm playing is we've created our own magic school, our own magic university with individual schools, and we are on our second, and then we've created characters to go through that school in each other's colleges. And on our second day, our professor was a lich and was very nice, although sounded, like they needed a lozenge the whole time. And one of the final lessons involved us learning how to team up our attacks. And the way he taught us was he just said, attack me.
Oh.
So yeah, a bunch of fourth level characters being like, all right, here we go. Let's take down Vecna, sure.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, your professor is Vecna?
The mini that was brought out kind of looked like Vecna. We were starting to joke that's what it was, but I believe it was just a lich. We don't have a name. They're just the professor, so for all we know, it could have been Vecna. Vecna moonlighting as a professor. I
like to think that it is, just like on campus here, man, Professor Vecna is a real hard ass. He's
that Vecna, I tell you.
He grades on a curve. It's the worst.
And then, and don't get me started on that crusty old Dean Asmodeus. Asmodeus?
Both. I've heard it both ways.
I like Asmodeus, and
so do I.
It's largely as the result of an old Hammer horror movie. There was some sort of cult thing in it, and they were worshiping, as they called him, Asmodeus. So it's always been that for me.
Mm-hmm.
I found I don't have a specific way I say it. I end up just mimicking whatever the people around me or my DM is using.
That's fair.
Which made it interesting when Asmodeus or whoever showed up in our Beyond Heroes game, and there were people in the cast. We were all using slightly different accents or nomenclature or whatever, and so it was just I couldn't quite settle on one or the other. All right, I think I got that box. All right, one box down.
Paint a box, paint another box.
Ragnar, the first thing that they say is that they loved the Gordon film.
Oh, lovely.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you for saying so.
And Mark, you have talked about your experience in mini painting, but for those that might be newer to the show, how experienced of a mini painter are you? How much have you painted in the past?
I have been painting minis since the 1980s, so for a very long time.
Nice.
I've still got some of my early efforts, and they're terrible. But I got out of painting minis for a while, and I got into customizing toys, like customizing action figures. So a lot of the same skills carried over.
Yeah.
But with a slightly larger scale because I was, usually working on 3 and 3/4 inch figures as opposed to teeny minis. But like I would say, I just sort of like started again. I started buying minis, and of course, a lot of pre-painted minis were available as well. So for a while, I was just getting those because it's like I don't really have time to paint. So especially because I was doing a lot of action figure customization. And then slowly but surely, I started accumulating all this big mountain of gray and white plastic that had to get some paint on it. And so
Yeah.
I started sticking my feet back in, and as I say, it was probably uh, the events of 2020 is what really, a lot of free time on your hands. It's like, well, might as well. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I really started doing it in earnest again at that point.
So I'm curious, when you talk about customizing action figures, is it a similar thing to customizing minis and where you were doing it for a thing? You were doing it for other people? Like what does customizing action figures involve?
Oh, well, I'm an action figure collector, so I've got a big collection of action figures, and it was specifically the Marvel Universe line, which was their, sort of G.I. Joe Star Wars sized 3 and 3/4 inch action figures. Just because there were lots of characters I wanted that they didn't do.
Oh.
The Super Adaptoid is a big favorite of mine, and that was one of the first ones that I customized. For those who know the Super Adaptoid, he's an Avengers villain. It's an android that basically can duplicate all of their powers. And as it does so, its appearance changes and it becomes sort of like a patchwork of the Avengers that it's duplicating, but always in different shades of green. So he's always in shades of green, but he might, for example, have Captain America's chainmail shirt, but with Thor's hammer and, Cap's shield, and the Iron Man chest repulsor in the middle of all of that. So, so yeah, and so he's easy enough to do because they've made the parts of all those other characters. So you just have to put it back together in that configuration and paint it various shades of green. So that's what I did for that.
So he's basically an AI artist.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways.
Ooh, timely burn. Wow.
A very timely burn.
I love it.
Somebody should bring, he's kind of obscure, but somebody should bring him back specifically for that sort of storyline.
Well, with how popular all those Marvel movies and TV shows and
Right?
everything is, people are constantly looking for who is someone that we can bring in that people are not familiar with that we can have fun with. So why not?
Yeah, he's been in lots of the cartoons and stuff. And actually, come to think of it, he was in the MODOK show that was on Hulu, I think, most recently. They changed his design substantially for that. It was a comedy show with Patton Oswalt playing MODOK, so he was much more comic relief as opposed to the terrifying engine of destruction that he is in the comics. But it was a funny show. I missed that one.
Hulu is another service that I have yet to catch up on.
We get in Canada, just because of all these loopholes and things aren't available here, we get all of the Hulu shows on our Disney Plus.
Oh, interesting.
So it is somewhat interesting, like when you turn on Disney Plus and like the first thing in the queue is like, oh, Pam and Tommy Lee on Disney Plus. It's
Oh my.
Canada's a very different country in a lot of ways.
That wasn't what I was expecting to hear.
No. Well, Canada in so many ways ends up getting the short end of the stick with a lot of stuff, like with mailing things and with even having access to a lot of the same shows. So if sometimes you can get things a lot easier than we can, I think that's only fair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
What's up, Miss Thing?
Oh, do we have a kitty?
We got a Rory. We have a Rory.
I will
who's
admit
trying to be cute.
it's very nice to get shows without having to subscribe to a new service.
That is cool.
As mentioned with it was the same with Swamp Thing, for example.
Young lady.
That we got that on our Sci-Fi channel.
Yeah, and every once in a while there's been something that we just can't get, and it's usually been something that I've been really excited to. Like every once in a while it's, oh, we can't get this, and I'm okay with it. But there's been a lot of Bollywood films that have come out recently that you just either can't find, legally at least,
Right.
or you can find, but they're only in certain. They have subtitles, but they're only in certain languages. KP was trying to explain some of this to me because we had watched RRR and then we're looking for other movies to watch, and it was, oh, see if you can get this one, but in this language, because even though it's still a language you don't understand, it's just better voice acting for when you're listening to it while reading the subtitles. It was fascinating and a little confusing, but then every once in a while I was like, oh, we can't even get this movie. That's so sad.
Yeah, it's definitely a real
It's not
thing.
available in your area.
No
And
show
we
for
caught
you.
up. Yeah, we caught up enough with Taskmaster that the newer episodes, the newer season, are just starting to go up on YouTube. And so every once in a while, we're too quick for it. And it's like, nope, this isn't available in your region just yet. Darn.
Oh, have you watched Kunk on Earth?
No.
That has been popping up, and I have been curious as to what on earth that show is. I have not heard a thing about it.
It's very, very funny.
Good
It's
to know.
Diane Morgan hosting as this character named Philomena Kunk, who's basically just doing like a documentary show about Earth. And yeah, it's really good. She also does one. She's British, and so the precursor to this was Kunk on Britain and various other specials.
Okay,
But-
fun.
I highly recommend Kunk on Earth.
Well, thank you, because that literally it's showing every single time I log on, and it's like, what is this crunk, and why is it on Earth? So now I know.
What? Where is that found again? What service?
Netflix.
I want to say Netflix.
Yeah.
And Charlie Brooker is one of the writers and creators. It is very, very funny.
I will add that to the ever-growing list of things that I want to
Right.
watch. The sadly growing list.
Sadly or happily?
I'm gonna say sadly, just because I never catch up on it.
Oh,
If
there
I-
you go. Okay.
If I could catch up on it, I would be a lot more pleased. But we'll see. There are some times that I'm actually very happy when there is a show or a movie that Luke wants to watch that I'm not interested in, because then I can enjoy his enjoyment as he watches the thing and then tells me about it. And it saves
there you
both of us a lot of time.
Time, yep. Time saver.
Like, don't wait for me, honey. Just go ahead and watch, and I'll hear the
Yeah.
full report afterwards.
Give me the cliff notes when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of little nooks and crannies on these
There
barrels.
are. Now that I'm like painting these up, I'm like, wow, this is a lot more details than I realized. So
Yep.
if we don't complete this mini today, Mark, I'll definitely send you my notes
Thank you so much.
so you can complete. And Lauren, we might be doing a third episode.
Yeah, I'd rather take it slow, because we've
Yeah.
only got about 15 minutes left, and I definitely don't want to
Exactly.
rush, especially since every time I turn the mini in a different direction, I find a whole section of a box I have not painted.
Oh, yeah, I just
Same.
did that. Just did that myself.
Yep.
How did I miss this entire side of a box?
What's around the box? What's around the box?
Like, I know exactly how many sides a box has. How did I miss this entire one?
It's a multi-dimensional one?
I guess.
It's a Spelljammer crate?
It is a giant hamster, so you're probably right about that. I guess now then it's actually a good time to remind everybody, if you do have any questions, we're in our last 10, 15 minutes of the show, because we do have Formation Save coming up after us. Also, Sean says crates of
Crates
holding.
of holding. I just
Absolutely. So definitely get your questions on in, and we'll see what we can answer. And then Awkwardish Panda says, "How did I miss that? A mini painter's tale."
Uh-huh. Wait, there's that piece too?
Yep. That'll be the title of someone's of V's memoir. How did I miss that? Sorry.
But wait, there's more. Missed a spot. No, I think my memoir would be called Missed a Spot. That's what I'm gonna name it. I absolutely need to stretch right now. My shoulder blade's just locked up from doing all these little details.
Yeah, I'm like hunched over like this. It's like...
Yeah. I've turned into a painting gremlin.
But the boxes are getting done.
They are.
We will no longer have good backs, but the boxes are being painted.
Yeah, if anything, you and I can finish this up next week, Lauren, and then jump right into the Durgar.
Yeah, that
which
sounds
actually
like a
that might
good plan.
even things out for us.
This is true.
Yeah.
Scheduling is always fun.
Yeah.
All right,
But
I
this
am
is
gonna
also
put that
why
down.
it's, we kind of estimate how many episodes, because I don't actually paint each miniature ahead of time. I look at the miniature as is, and I mentally plot how we're going to paint the miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of estimate mode.
This is definitely not the first mini that we've
Yeah.
started thinking it's going to take X amount of time, and it's taken X
And
plus
it's-
4.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's X. What is it? What's that called? X exponent?
The
When it's
exponent? Yeah.
The exponent. Thank you. Hey, I remembered a math thing.
Math things.
I math. Oh,
When I write up the
God.
blogs for all of the different champions talking about their abilities,
there's
there's
more
usually lots of math.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually a lot of me remembering my high school math.
My God, my algebra teacher, she was awful.
Oh, did we have a captions fail? What happened?
What?
Oh,
What?
no.
The captions? Or did the captions pick up something and go funny on their... Is that what happened?
I guess. I'm looking back. I just saw Siffy Cicero saying something about Google Captions had some hilarious caption fail.
So it's like Google Captions, we're saying one thing and it does another.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have, I haven't mentioned this in a while, so I probably should. For those of you who are looking for closed captions, if you hover over the screen, they are available. They are baked into, or not baked in, they're part of the actual caption software through Twitch that we're doing something with our OBS. So you can click on that and get the captions going. And then if you click on settings, you can actually adjust the captions to your liking. So if you want them on a specific part of the screen, if you want them in a certain color, if you would like them bigger or smaller. It also has options that I don't understand why anyone would want. Like you can put effects on them in weird ways.
Wait, what? I missed that part.
Yeah. There's some fun presets on there. There's some colors that are very neon that I'm sure is useful for some people, but would hurt my eyes. I don't think you can put the captions in Comic Sans, but there are several font options. And it is available on mobile as well. So you just need to hover over the screen and you'll see the little closed caption symbol.
Yeah, I have my little monitor box open right now. It's capturing the captions, so.
I mean, why would they not be available in Comic Sans, the greatest font of all time?
That or Papyrus, one of the two, right?
Always Comic
Remember
Sans.
when that was everywhere, though?
Which, Papyrus or Comic
Yes,
Sans?
well, Papyrus especially like in malls, for some reason, malls loved Papyrus as a font.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. God, that just took me back like 20 years.
I've put some stuff in Comic Sans, myself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not immune. I'm not immune to the comic.
Totally did. I totally did. At that age, it was the thing. It was the fun thing to do, and then everyone was doing the fun thing to do, and then it just became ubiquitous and boring and comical. And not in a good way. I think I got all the sides of my boxes.
Yes, including the store Papyrus. Although I did see a joke about how for someone had put up a picture of one of the Papyrus stores and the Papyrus title was not in that font.
Yeah.
And it's like, what happened? What went wrong?
Did they miss the memo that was in Papyrus?
Oh, Awkward Panda does bring up a good point, which is Comic Sans is really easy for dyslexics to read, which is true.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's something about the weighting of... I've looked very tiny bit into this. I'm not going to claim that I know a lot, but as as someone who was doing a lot of work getting closed captionings to work on our streams, the weighting of some of the letters helps a lot with people who have dyslexia, and Comic Sans kind of just naturally has some of that weighting.
I did not know.
Yeah, there's a specific font that is, I don't remember what it's called, but it is specifically made to help with dyslexia. And looking at it, I totally get it, because it is one of the most readable fonts I've ever seen. I looked at it and went, wow, this is actually really clear. I like this.
Yeah, it helps each letter have its own unique appearance, as opposed to how sometimes H's and N's will look similar to each other and A's and E's will look similar to each other, and then forget when you get into W's and N's and M's and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I don't mind that cursive has basically gone away.
Okay.
It really has. They spent a long time teaching us that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So apparently there was a challenge that was going around where younger folks were like, hey, here's a challenge. You have to write your name without picking your name up off the paper, or your pen off the paper.
You mean
Cursive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, what are you talking about? I don't understand that word. Yeah.
I don't know if I remember how to write anything in cursive other than my name, to be honest. I think it'd probably be a mess if I tried.
My handwriting is such a hybrid of print and cursive that it's scary. Of course, my handwriting is awful, which no one believes me, but I have terrible, terrible handwriting. It's bad. Like, do I have a sample of my handwriting? I think I might. So for me, it's like, well, yeah, you know, cursive, print, something, sure. Yeah, this is my handwriting.
You know what? In the end, if you can read it, that's all that matters.
Not always. Not always. That's why I was so happy when computers and typing became a thing, because my typing hands can keep up faster than my writing hands.
Yes. Bless the ubiquity of computers and type, because and yes, Sir Darby, we're old.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's half the fun, right?
I'll take my blue plate special. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
I think.
All I know is we're supposed to eat it at 4 o'clock and then go to sleep at like 6.
Oh God. Okay, then I definitely don't have that schedule, because I'm East Coaster living on a West Coaster's timeline. I pick up the kids from school and I'm having lunch at 4 o'clock at night.
Yeah, Via's on the schedule of all of us on the West Coast. I feel bad sometimes.
No, it's fine, because it's sort of my natural rhythm as it is anyways. But yeah.
I'm not sure what we want to do. We've got about 8 minutes left. Is there something?
That's what I was going to take a look at right now. So,
Here's my guy with his gold fixings.
Ooh, very nice. Here's mine with their silver. I'm not going to show up quite nearly as well.
Silver and gold. So what we can do is we can mix a little bit of elfic flesh with black to sort of make like a dirty beige and start painting the bedrolls. Or hold on here. Yeah, they're all kind of at the mix stage right now.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about doing any mixing at this moment.
So let's do the base then. Let's do the base. We'll paint the base with charred brown.
Okay.
Sure.
And we can work on the packs and stuff. Yes. Go back to that charred brown. And we'll get the base painted up. We'll be all about the base.
Grab one of my bigger brushes.
Is that one of the ones I want to use? Maybe, maybe not.
So the whole base?
Whole base.
Whole base.
Yep.
I am going to water it down a little bit, though, because my charred brown is chocolate consistency.
Ooh.
It's thick.
It is a thick paint. Forget 2 C's, it's 3 C's.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't mind, because it does mean you get more bang for your buck with the paint, but it does mean I rarely want to just dip right in the pot.
Right. Interestingly, mine is actually kind of watery. So I'm not thinning it too much. Yeah, we've gotten pretty much everything done that we need to, so it's totally good to move ahead with the base.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with only a few minutes left, and I do not have a wet palette, so...
Yeah, that's just it. That's why I was like, well, I don't want to get into mixing things, because then there's the frustration of recreation later on.
Well, Mark, you're just going to have to, when you finish your Space Hamster, tag us and post it on the social so we can see your finished...
But of course.
Finished mini.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't think I can join you next week, even though we didn't quite finish. But I will follow the notes that V sends.
Excellent.
She has excellent notes. I can speak from experience.
Yeah, they're shorthand, but
they're typed out so we can read them.
Yeah, exactly. You can read them.
Oh, getting under his butt's going to be a real...
Yeah, real pain in the butt.
Yep.
Yeah.
But fortunately, getting around the toes, it's not a thick gap in between all the toes, so I don't feel like I have to get the...
Gently nudging the bristles up against it is doing the trick for me, at least.
Let's see. Yeah, Lurking Rider, it sounds like we're going to be doing part 3 on the show to finish out our giant space hamster. So I'll update the information in the Discord channel, which now I have to drink because I've talked about it. Check out our Discord, discord.gg/idlechampions, if you'd like to see more information about what we're doing on not just Paint and Slay, but for a bunch of our different shows, or if you'd like to get the help of the Idle Champions community for all of your formation needs. I'm almost out of tea.
Oh dear.
I can't plug the Discord anymore. I'm almost out of tea.
I let my tea go cold.
I was telling V
Still
beforehand.
Good. Still good.
Yeah. I was telling V beforehand I've been enjoying using the double-walled tumbler because it keeps the tea hot for longer, so that way I have an actual chance to get through it before it gets cold. Especially as I'm prone to putting the cup down somewhere and walking away from it.
Oh yeah, I do that constantly.
Mm-hmm. That, or I heat up the water and start to seep the tea and walk away, and then 4 hours later remember that I have made tea.
You made super tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stewed tea,
super
tea. As my wife calls it.
I've made soup.
See?
Mm-hmm.
Tea is soup. Tea is soup.
Tea is soup. All right, I got my base done.
Awesome. I'm almost
Put
there.
that there to dry.
I think I'm at the point there's only so far you can feasibly get underneath to reach.
Yes.
So get what you can, and if there's a little bit of unpainted area, rather, that's okay.
What are people doing looking under a
That's
giant
just
hamster's
it.
butt
If
anyway?
someone is
What are you
getting
doing
that
looking
up
under
close
there?
and personal with the hamsters took us, we have issues.
And my guy's just standing atop a very small patch of snow.
There we go. I like that
That's what's
narrative.
happening.
I like that narrative.
He's guarding the
That's
snow.
a good one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, we'll definitely need to finish this up next week. Mark, I will send you some slightly more detailed notes. I realize my notes are my crib notes that I need to kind of expand for you, so that you can finish this fellow up. But chances are, I'm thinking we'll probably need about an hour more for this guy, and then we can take the other half of the show next week and start working on hold on. He's getting bleached out from the light. This guy. So, yes.
He's fancy.
He's very fancy. So that'll be the plan. We'll finish up Big Boo, and then we'll move on to the big dude.
Sounds like a plan. But unfortunately, we will not have Mark Meer with us next week.
No,
so thank you for joining us these last 2 weeks. This has been a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely. Nice to just sit down, chat and paint a mini. What a lovely show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And since you will not be joining us next week, I'd love to give you one more chance to plug anything that you would like or talk about where people can find more of your amazing stuff.
Oh, well, you can find me on Instagram as Mr. Mark Meer. That's Mr. period Mark Meer. You can find me on Twitter at Mark_Meer. As mentioned, there is a recent offering from Creative Force Films called Gordon, a Batman fan film, in which I play the Joker. I encourage you to check that out. And you can currently see me weekly on Roll20 as Roll20's Twitch and Chaosium's YouTube channel in Bookshops of Arkham, in which I am the keeper of arcane lore. We've got, let's see, 2 of those episodes are currently up on YouTube. We'll have our 3rd one dropping on Sunday, and then next Wednesday is going to be our finale on Twitch, and then the finale will follow up on the YouTube channel the following Sunday. So we hope you enjoy those.
Awesome. And you have a couple more days in order to get gear for Brother Uriah, who is still available this weekend until Monday noon Pacific. So make sure
so basically do it on Sunday. Do it on Sunday if you're going to do it, because I mean, there's not going to be much of Monday.
No, you don't really get too much of Monday. Monday is going to be very quick. You wake up that morning and you're like, how much can I get done this morning? Just one run through.
Can I get the
Unless
blessing
you're
room?
East Coast, because if you're East Coast, then it's 3 p.m.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Anyway, we will be back next week for more of the giant hamster, and I don't think there's anything else. We still have Formation Save coming up after us, so stick around.
And thank you for moderating, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Sean has had a very long day, so thank you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.